Hi, I'm Denise Davis, Master Kinesiologist, Metaphysiologist, and Certified Teacher of Health Kinesiology. And I want to talk to you today about kinesiology itself. I'm so delighted that you took advantage of my offer to learn this crash course in kinesiology and muscle testing because I am so incredibly passionate about it. About 22 years ago, I had become really, really ill. And none of the doctors could figure out what was going on with me. I was misdiagnosed several times. I had multiple tests done. I was given medications for things that I didn't have, suffered side effects from the medications that I was given for the things that I didn't have. Ultimately, I was an absolute mess. And I was desperate. I was so desperate to find out what the heck was going on with me. Why did I feel so crummy? What made me feel like I was dying? And in my absolute desperation, I had gone to a kinesiologist from the advice of an actual RN who I was friends with at the time. And I had gone to this woman not knowing what to expect, having no clue as to what it was that she was going to do. But she helped me. She figured out what my problem was. And she figured it out without tests, without diagnostic machinery or any kind of electronic equipment whatsoever. She did it very simply in her home office with her own bare hands. And I was astonished, so much so that I gave up a corporate career and went back to school to become a kinesiologist because this method is so invaluable, and at the time nobody knew what it was. And even now, it's like this little unheard of secret that's out there. So I want to share it with you because anybody can do this. Anybody. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Trust me. And now I've been doing it for over 20 years and mastered it. So I want to share what I know with you so that you can help yourself, your family, your friends, and if you choose to, go on to learn how to become a practitioner and help other people. So what is kinesiology? Essentially, in layman's terms, it's the study of muscles and movement. But that study goes so much further. Many years ago, it was acknowledged that your energy actually will influence that muscle movement. Now, there are two different separate categories of kinesiology. Over 250 different forms of it, but two main categories. One is what's studied here in the United States in the colleges, and it's the actual study of the correlation of the mechanical movement of the muscles in relationship to the bones and the ligaments and all of that. I like to refer to that area as more of a sports kinesiology. It's what's studied by the doctors and the physical therapists and chiropractors and so on and so forth. So there's a whole other segment to kinesiology which was discovered hundreds of years ago but really brought forth and rediscovered, so to speak, by a chiropractor named Dr. George Goodheart. And he went on to discover the energetic principles of kinesiology and how the muscles interact with vibrational frequencies. Our bodies are electrical in nature. We're comprised mainly of water. Water is electrical in nature. So we send off a vibrational frequency, a vibe, if you will. And our body's going to respond to everything else in its environment. So we pretty much learned a long time ago in elementary school about protons, neutrons, electrons, and vibrational frequencies and how all matter contains these frequencies. So if you take a rock and you slice it open and you put it under a high-powered microscope, you're going to see lots of movement in there, right? All of that movement, that high vibrational frequency, that constitutes the solid matter of the rock, right? Well, everything on the planet has a vibrational frequency to it. Whether it's the air that we're breathing, the water that we're drinking, the foods that we're eating, the tone of our voice, the sound vibrational frequency that we're placing out there, the emphasis on words. Words have different vibrational frequencies, and we respond to those things energetically. So with that, our muscles respond as well. So this area of study in kinesiology I like to refer to as a holistic kinesiology, where it's more about the vibrational frequency, and that's what you're going to learn today. So how does this help you? What does it do? You see, when your body responds to something in a positive way, all of your muscle structure stays firm. Okay? So when your body has a liking, if you will, to something, it's considered a positive response, right? That makes it happy. With that, the muscle structure is going to stay firm, right? When it has a negative response to something, that means it's incongruent, the body's not liking it, so on and so forth. All of the muscles then, means it's unhappy, doesn't like it. All of the muscles then weaken to some degree. Now this doesn't mean that you're going to turn into a wet noodle. It just means that there is a shift in that energetic pattern. And depending on which muscle you use to test with, you'll see more of a dramatic shift. Okay, and I'm going to show you a little bit about that. I go into it more in depth in my class Verbal Kinesiology 101. But for today's purposes, just so you have an idea, something that you can use today with yourself, your family, your friends, to get through all of this, we're just going to keep it real basic. But it'll give you enough that you'll understand and be able to utilize it to figure out what's good for you and what's not good for you. In the body, we have what's called the Meridian System. Now, it's only just recently, and when I say recently, I mean like 2 weeks ago, recently, that science has proven, that some scientific studies have come out, that the Meridian System exists. However, for thousands of years, Eastern cultures have relied on the use of the Meridian System to understand what's happening in the body. So we're delighted as holistic practitioners that there's now scientific studies that prove it exists. That's a very exciting thing for us. Anyway, what the meridians are they're little tiny energy lines that run just below the skin surface. So if you've ever had acupuncture done or acupressure, those are the things that those professionals are using. Okay, it's the energy lines that run just below the skin surface. So if you've gone to acupuncturists, you'll know that they just gently tap the needles in. They don't jab them in. They tap these hair fine needles into the skin, just below the skin surface, to hit those energy lines. Now those energy lines all have a purpose. Each one of those energy lines correlates to a different organ of the body. Each organ of the body is associated with a different emotion that we feel. So the Meridian System is a really cool mechanism that kind of ties in the body-mind-spirit connection all in one. So if we're focusing on the Meridian System, then we can look at the human body as a whole being rather than a compartmentalized unit. In Western allopathic medicine, what's referred to as traditional medicine, which I never really quite understood that because natural medicine's been around for thousands of years. You would think that that was considered traditional. And it's only over the last 100 years that the pharmaceuticals came in and started creating an impression of what it should be. And so they've labeled that traditional and called this alternative. It's kind of weird, but okay, neither here nor there for our purposes. But if we look at how Western allopathic medicine works, you generally have an issue. You go to your general practitioner, and he kind of gives you an overall evaluation, and then he says, okay, you need to go to this specialist, someone who specializes in this area of the body, whether it's a cardiologist or a neurologist or an ophthalmologist or a gynecologist or whatever, well, all these ologists. But what those people do then is they focus singly on that area of the body. So let's take a cardiologist, for instance. He's looking only at your heart and what's happening there. The problem is that if he goes in and does open heart surgery and fixes whatever's going on in the heart, it is going to affect every other part of the body. The body is one cohesive, well-oiled machine. So if one part goes down, every other piece of the body is affected, right? But somehow in allopathic medicine, they seem to forget that piece. But in holistic medicine, we look at the person as a complete whole, and we use the Meridian System to kind of guide us through that, because everything is about energy, and the Meridian System is what holds that energy. The body is an incredibly infinite intelligent machine, and all the information that you've ever been through from the moment of conception to this moment while you're listening to my voice right now is recorded in a cellular structure. And we can see this quite clearly how it happens in our brain, right? We remember events. We can recall events of our life. We don't think about them every day, but in a moment's notice, you can recall something instantaneously. And that's called the reticular activating system. It's a little piece in the brain that allows us to stay focused on what's important right here, right now. Because if we had to think about everything that's ever happened in our lives, we'd go loony-toony, right? So it's the piece of us that remembers, okay, this is what is important to me right now. This is important to what I have to do today. It does have the availability to go back into that file cabinet and pull things out. For instance, if I say to you, think about the first time you ever rode a bicycle, or the first time you met your spouse or significant other, right? You remember those moments in an instant. It may not be something that you thought about for a long time, but you can pull it out. Well, the same thing is true of the rest of the body, right? We hold things cellularly. So your body knows everything that has happened to it, whether it's something that you've eaten, something that you've experienced, some kind of trauma that has gone on in your life, and it stores that information, whether it's something physical, psychological, emotional, spiritual, nutritional, or environmental. And so having that intelligent information stored allows us the ability as kinesiologists, since we're working on a vibrational frequency, to be able to tap into that information. And you're saying, what? Wait a second, hang on. But it's true. We store that information within the meridians, and I like to refer to it as your energy library, where we can access information that the body needs. The body has the ability to heal itself. It's constantly in a state of rejuvenation. You cut yourself, instantly the blood starts to coagulate, scab starts to form, and over time new skin cells develop. A couple of weeks later you look, you never even knew you cut yourself, right? Well, the body is in a constant state of rejuvenation. It's only the things that we expose it to that prevent that from happening. So when I say something that we expose it to, it could be any of the things I mentioned before. It could be psychological trauma that has scarred us. It could be, some kind of air contamination. It could be some kind of bacteria, some type of virus, some kind of food that we've eaten, an allergy, an intolerance, any of those things. But the body knows, and it knows what it is. It knows what it needs to heal itself. So doing kinesiology actually is the key to opening up that information, right? Because your body's responding to the vibrational frequencies. So all we have to do, essentially, is ask the body, right? So, okay. So I just want to show you a little example. Now, we said before that your body's going to respond positive in a good way and negative in a bad way, right? Okay, so we're going to do a little test right now. First, I'm going to show you how it's done, and then I want you to get up and do the same thing, okay? So what happens is your body responds to energy frequencies, right? So in this exercise, I'm going to stand here, and I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm just going to say the word yes. 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 Now, did you see what just happened to me? My body leaned forward, right? Now I'm going to do the same exercise. I'm going to close my eyes and say the word no. And instantly, my body started going backwards. Instantly. You say to yourself, well, yeah, of course she's doing that. Really? I want you to get up and try it yourself. Now, your body may have the opposite reaction where yes is going backwards and no is going forwards. And that just simply means that the body's a little out of balance, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I want you to try this. This is called the sway test. And it's very simple to do. So up, up, up. Come on, stand up. and try it for yourself. Don't believe me. I want you to do it. So stand there with your arms at your side, close your eyes, and simply say the word yes. Yes. And see which way your body leans. Did you do it? Okay. Now, do the same exercise and say the word no. No. And see what it does for you. Now, I'm going to imagine that it worked for you, okay, because it works for everybody. Now, if you happen to have the opposite, where you were going forward on no and backwards on yes, that simply means that the meridian system's out of balance. So we want to make sure anytime we start muscle testing, because this is a form of muscle testing, it's not extensive and it's certainly not, really, really great to use. And I'm going to give you better skills, but it does work, all right? So what you want to do is balance those meridian systems. Because without balancing the meridian system, chances of getting accurate information are very slim. And a lot of people might teach you muscle testing and they just start doing this or this, and I'll show you all that. But without balancing and making sure that you're in balance, you can't rely on muscle testing at all. You might get correct answers sometimes, but you won't get correct answers all the time. So it's important to make sure that the meridian system is balanced. And how do we do that? Easiest way that I know of is to tap on the thymus gland. And you may have seen other videos where I did this, so I'm going to do this very, very simply, is to tap right here on the chest in a counterclockwise motion, right? Left shoulder to right shoulder and down. And just do this for a little while. Now for me, I always know when I'm in balance because I tend to yawn. And it's funny because it's not a contagious yawn. It's really, really funny to watch because usually when you see a monkey yawn on TV, everybody yawns. But this is not true of this because it's energy movement and it's personal energy movement. All right. But for some people, you'll get like a sigh when you know that you're completely in balance. All right. So just do this for like a minute or two. There it is. That's it for me. Okay. The other way to do this, and this is a great method to use for kids if you want to be testing your kids because they kind of think this is fun. You can do this method laying down or standing up. So you can't see my feet right now, I don't think, in this video, but I'm going to cross my ankles, switch my feet over. I'm going to put my hands out, cross my wrists, link the fingers, loop it through, and hang your head. And just sit here for a minute. Now, right now, you're crossing virtually all of your meridians all at the same time. So it forces the energy back into balance very quickly. Okay. So now that you're in balance, go ahead and try it again. Try the sway test again. Now, what you can do with the sway test, which is really super cool, is that you can actually test whether a product's good for you or not. Okay, I'll give you an example. Wherever your navel is, count 4 fingers down from the navel. And that's what we refer to as CV6. That's central vessel 6. Okay, it's one of the meridians, and it's one of the points on the meridians. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take something, and you're going to put it in that spot. Right? And basically you're asking the body whether this is a good vibrational match for you. Right? So all you do is hold it there, close your eyes, and feel the sway. Right? So obviously an orange is very good for me. But if I take something like some kind of medication or something and I put it there, instantly I know that this is not a good match for me in particular. So I would never take this product. It's a very simple tool that you can do, very easy to figure out what's right for you. And you can do that in virtually any circumstance. In my class, Verbal Kinesiology 101, which I'll give you the opportunity to check out later on at the end of the video, I teach about how to structure your questions of the body to make sure that you're going to get accurate information. Whether it's something that you're thinking about eating, being exposed to, whether a relationship is right for you. I know that sounds crazy, but people do that. Whether you're decorating your home and you want to put some different elements in your house, whether they're going to be a vibrational match for you. And when things are a vibrational match, they feel good. That's why we want to test these things before we actually go out and spend money on them, because it's not just about whether our body's going to have a good reaction to it or a bad reaction to it, physically. It's energetically as well. So if you use these methods and migrate to the things that are a vibrational match, life is going to feel more comfortable. It's going to be happier. It's just going to resonate with you and your family better if you get things that are a vibrational match versus a vibrational mismatch, right? So now I want to talk about how to make sure you're in balance, right? Because that's one of the most important things. After you do this, you want to check the positive and check the negative, right? To make sure that you're getting a correct positive response, a correct negative, which in the sway test would be, forward leaning would be a yes, negative leaning would be a no, right? So when we're talking about checking the balance and learning how to muscle test, so to speak, rather than sway test, one of the easiest ways to do this is through finger locking, okay? So take your fingers and put your index finger to your thumb, and with your dominant hand, I'm righty, so I'm going to do it with my right hand. If you're lefty, you do the opposite. Just link the fingers through, putting the index to the thumb, creating almost like a chain link, right? Now what I want you to do is say the word yes and tug. Say the word yes and tug. Now you'll see that lock is pretty darn tight, right? Now say the word no and tug. Say the word no and tug. You'll find that your least dominant hand usually is the one that breaks free on that tug. You say to yourself, holy cow, what is that? Now I'm asking you to do it, not me just showing you, because you could very easily say, well, she separated her fingers. No, I want you to try it, right? So that you can see and feel the difference, all right? Yes, the muscle structure stays firm. That's our positive response. It stays firm. It does not allow for that release. As soon as you say the word no, there's a release, right? Because the muscles here are hitting that negative pattern and they're weakening. So there isn't that ability to keep it locked in, right? That's how muscle testing works. It is literally that simple, folks. Now your body can only respond with yes or no. Excuse me. Can only respond by saying yes or no. It's the only two options here. Strong muscle, weak muscle. Only two. You can't say to the body, what color is my blouse, and have it say purple. It's just not going to answer that way because it only has that strength or that weakness. So we have to make sure that when we start asking questions of the body, that we ask them in a format that only has two answers, yes or no, right? So when you're asking about a particular substance that you're putting here, right, and you're doing your sway, it's saying yes, this is good, or no, this is not good. For me, Buffer pH is great. If you haven't heard of it before, fabulous stuff. Give them a little plug right there. They keep the acid alkaline balance in the body. Very, very cool. Did you know, just as a side note, that illness cannot live in an alkaline body? And most people are very acidic. People that take that little purple pill and all that stuff could alleviate that little purple pill and all sorts of troubles if they just start testing their pH levels, right? You can do that easily. You can go to the pharmacy or a health food store and get pH strips and either urinate on it or stick it on your tongue and see what the level is. It comes with a little chart. And you should be, the perfect pH would be a 7.3. So if you're not there, look up alkaline foods and maybe some alkaline drops or alkaline pills such as those and get yourself straight. It's really cool. Okay, sidetrack, sorry about that. Okay, anyway, so you want to make sure that all of your questions are structured in yes and no ways, right? So we have that finger lock method. So another way to test it is to say, and practice with this, all right, to make sure that you're getting accurate information. Say, my name is Denise. Or your name, whatever your name is. All right, say, my name is, and fill in the blank and put your real name, right? When you test, it should be firm. It should not release. It should be very, very firm. And then go ahead and say the same thing. My name is, and this one should be a fictitious. I don't know if I'm spelling that correctly, but this isn't spelling class. This is kinesiology class. So put in your name in the first one, test. Put somebody else's name in the second one, and test. My name is Ophelia. My name is Denise. You see the difference? So practice that. All right. I'm going to bring in Sarah, who's going to demonstrate with me how you can test on other people. Because testing on other people is going to become very, very important in the fact that you need to be able to energetically diagnose your family, your friends, and ask them to help you when you want to find out if you're allergic to something. So testing with other people is going to be crucial, so I'm going to show you how to do that too. And using a surrogate tester is going to be important to you as well. So I'll share with you those methods in a little bit. But in the meantime, I want to show you the allergy and intolerance points, because these are huge. These are really, really huge, and virtually nobody knows about this. It's crazy. We go to the allergist, and they sit there and they do these prick tests where they poke you with all sorts of needles, and they wait for a response. They just wait for symptoms and rashes and things to develop. How unpleasant is that? Where I'm going to show you a very easy way to figure out whether you're allergic to something. Now, just before I talked about energetically diagnosing. We're not diagnosing anyone per se, right? Only the FDA, the AMA, and the pharmaceutical people are allowed to do that, right? So legally we cannot say that. What we are doing is we're looking at the energy of the body. So anything that I'm saying to you is in regards to energy. We're not talking about physical manifestation because we don't know that. So unless you have a blood test or a diagnostic x-ray that shows something, we're talking about energy, the energy of something. All right, so let's look at allergies, right? When you're allergic to something, your whole body is going to respond to it, right? And it'll respond in a lot of different ways. The ways that we're most accustomed to is whether we get a rash or itchy, watery eyes or things like that. But don't be fooled by that because symptoms come in many different forms. You might be lethargic or feel fatigue or dizzy or having nausea or things like that. All of those things, or even sleeplessness, can be a sign of an allergic reaction, right? Just because you're not getting the common ones doesn't mean that your body is not having an allergic reaction, okay? So how do we test for allergies? Right here, I'm going to come in a little bit. Right here is what we refer to as T21, okay? T21, triple warmer 21. That's another meridian. We have 14 major meridians in our body. So, and they each have different names. All right, so this is triple warmer 21, right? This is your allergy point. Allergy point. Sorry, I don't have the best handwriting. Okay, right here. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your substance, whatever it is, hold it on the CB6 point, which is 4 fingers down from the navel, and you're going to hold that T21 point, right, for the muscle testing. Now you can do this with a sway test to see for yourself, right? If you go forward with a strong response, that means that you're not allergic. All right, a yes on the T21, a strong muscle, means no allergy. If you get a no, a negative response, that means it's an allergen for you. Stay away. Okay? And why does the body respond yes and no this way? Right? Because yes, we like it. Yes, we can have it. Yes, we can do it. Everybody likes to be told yes. So it's that positive reinforcement. When we say no, no you can't have it, no you can't do it, nobody likes to be told no. So the body perceives it as a negative, right? So that's how that structure works. But with T21, you can test other people, you can test a third party through a surrogate, you can test anything. Now, after testing T21, if you have a strong response to something, that doesn't mean you'll never get a reaction from it. Because there's also something called an intolerance, right? Now, just where the skull meets the spine, you have an indentation here, right? I want you to put your fingers right in there. That is your intolerance indicator, right? So if you don't have an allergy to something, that doesn't mean that you have a high tolerance for something. So essentially, if you have an issue with walnuts, you might be able to eat one or two of them, but if you eat a bag, you might suddenly trigger an allergic response, right? And that's considered to be an intolerance. So meaning you might be able to eat 2 or 3 of them, but the more you add to that, the greater your intolerance level becomes, right? Triggering what appears to be an allergic reaction. But it's not really an allergy, it's an intolerance. So be aware of that. So when you test for your intolerance, you can't test, is this an intolerance, right? Yes or no. You need to know what the intolerance level is. So how do you do that? When you need a yes or a no response. Easy. It's about how you structure your question. It's not, am I allergic or am I intolerant? Because if you're intolerant, you want to know how many you can have, right? How much your exposure can be. So you want to ask your question. Asking questions is very, very important, and I'll talk about that in 1 second. But you want to say, is my tolerance at least 10%? Look for your yes or no. Is it at least 20%? And so on and so forth, right? Because you want a yes or no. So if it's at least something, it's either going to be yes or no, right? And then you can go back and restructure your question. Questions are hugely important, and I go into this in great, great detail in my class, because the way you ask a question will always determine your answer. And that question may be ambiguous, which means that you're going to get a very confusing answer, right? You might ask the question 3 different ways and get 3 different answers. So it's really important to realize how you structure a question is going to be paramount in getting the proper information. For instance, if you ask the question, does my car need gas, right, or petrol, or however the language you use, does my car need gas? The answer is always going to be yes, right? You might be thinking in your head, do I need to get gas right now before I run out? Correct? But the way the question was structured, the answer is going to be yes, because your car relies on gas to operate. Without the gas, no operate. So if you say, does my car need gas? Yes, it always needs gas, right? Does it need additional fuel to get me from this destination to that destination is a whole different question. Do I need to add gas in order for me to meet the demands of what I'm putting on it? That's a whole different level of questioning, right? So be careful about how you structure this question, all right? But I want you to practice this with your friends, your family, and you'll be amazed at how the answers that you get, how accurate they are for your well-being. When I first learned how to do this, I used to go into the supermarket and I'd be muscle testing which melon is right for me, which one is the ripest, which one is the most juiciest, which one is and you can do that. Just be careful, because people will think you're kind of strange in the supermarket when you start doing those things. But muscle test everything. You now have the capability of doing that. You now have the capability of finding out what the vibrational frequency of your body needs and what it's going to work best with. Okay, so I've asked Sarah to come here to demonstrate for you how you can test with other people. Before I showed you how to test yourself, but now I want to show you how to test someone else. So in this situation, we're going to ask the person to take their right hand, and which is her dominant hand, so you always want to use their dominant hand, and place the palm over the navel. So place your palm over your navel. Then we're going to ask the person to raise their arm up, straight out. Okay, this is the fastest and easiest way to test someone. And what you want to do is you're going to test just above the wrist, right above the wrist, and you're going to use 2 fingers. Don't do it with a full hand, right? Because a lot of people start trying to do muscle testing and they try to be very forceful. With muscle testing, you don't have to be forceful at all. You want to put your hand on their shoulder just to kind of give them, you know, that comfort and brace there. And then you're going to ask them to very simply say the word yes. So say the word yes, Sarah.
Yes.
No, hold your arm here. What you want to do is ask them to hold stability here. So you want to hold it here. I'm going to press lightly here, and you let them know that. And when you press, okay, you can feel the pressure there. You can feel the extension of the muscle. If it's going to lock, it will lock and it'll stay locked, right? But if it's going to go weak, it will be very, very easy to press down. So, but a lot of times people might tend to resist, like they'll strong arm you a bit and keep it up and keep it up, and that's not the idea. The idea is to hold it up there and just keep it there firm. If it's easy for me to push it down, it will be easy for me to push down because it is the muscle that's actually doing the break, the energy break, if you will. So hold it up for me and say the word yes.
Yes.
Now I'm pushing, right? Now hold it there. Hold it there. Now what we want to do in this situation, Sarah's a little wishy-washy on this, so what we want to do is we want to make sure she's in balance. And one of the things that I talked about before was making sure that you're in balance and the person you're testing is in balance, which we did not do with Sarah before that. So we're going to try that now. So we're going to ask Sarah to tap herself in, right? Mm-hmm. And if you remember, all we do is tap right here on the thymus gland in a counterclockwise motion, very gently, just keep tapping. Now, if you feel that the person could benefit, you can certainly touch them while you're tapping yourself. Because not only are you going to be in balance, but your energy is actually going to help their energy get in balance a little quicker. Okay? So you do the energy tap, or with children it's always best to do the crisscross applesauce. So Sarah, cross your ankles, put your arms out, cross your wrists, link the fingers, and loop it through. Okay? And if we stand like this for a moment, I always tend to yawn when my energy goes into balance. But for some people, it's just an overall feeling of calm. Okay, now let's try that again. Put your right hand over your navel. Stick your arm out. Now hold it here for me. Don't be wishy-washy. Say the word yes.
Yes.
And it's very firm. Now say the word no for me.
No.
And it becomes much weaker, much, much easier to do. So if I say my name is Sarah, say my name is Sarah.
My name is Sarah.
Okay. We're nice and strong. Now I'm pushing gently, but I can actually push very, very hard, and we still have that tightness there. Now say my name is Josephine.
My name is Josephine.
And instantly the body says no. Now I know you can't really get a feel for this based on watching, me push her arm up and down, but try it on your friends, your family, and you'll see how easily that transition takes place. So in my demonstration with Sarah, we were showing you how, by putting the hand over the navel, you can very easily muscle test this way, right? But what happens in a situation when you can't test someone like this, right? What if it's an infant? What if it's a disabled person? Shoot, I've muscle tested for people in the ICU unit that were in a coma before. Okay, I've worked with doctors, I've worked with nurses, I've worked with psychologists in a multitude of different ways. I've worked on animals. You can muscle test animals, right? But how do you muscle test an animal, right? You're not going to ask them to like lift their leg and go like this, right? No, you need a surrogate, right? So the same way that I was showing you with Sarah to go like this, take that person that you're using the arm and have them, instead of placing their palm here, place it on the palm, instead of placing their palm here, you're going to place that palm on the other person's core, right? So you're going to stick it right on the other person's navel. So if you're working with an infant, have your surrogate, that in-between person, put their palm on the infant's navel and then stick their arm out, and you as the tester would then test the surrogate for the information, okay? And same with a disabled person and the same with an animal. You just stick it on their belly, okay? But what you need to know in those situations, when you're testing with a surrogate, it's really important that all three parties are in balance, right? So if the person's in a coma or the person, if they're out of balance, you really need to be a master at kinesiology to tap into that infinite intelligence beyond the out of balance Meridian System, okay? And in my class I teach you how to do that. But with a child and, an animal, just simply do the tap on them. Simply do the tap on them and make sure you're in balance, your surrogate's in balance, and the person that you're testing is in balance. That's crucial information to getting accurate answers. So I hope this has been extremely helpful for you, and you utilize this information of the body's infinite intelligence, because it will tell you what it needs to heal itself. All you got to do is ask the right questions. If you've liked what you've learned here today, then you will absolutely love my class on verbal kinesiology, and I'm going to make it available to you today because I think it's really important for people to learn this. This class goes in depth. It's literally 5 hours of educational information on how to become a master kinesiologist. It's called Verbal Kinesiology 101, and it will show you everything that you need to know to be able to muscle test anyone, anywhere, at any time for anything. Now, normally this class goes for $297. I've sold it for years for that amount, but for a limited time only, I think about another week or so, I'm going to put it up for $97 because I think it's so important that everybody learn how to do this. This is the only thing that frees us from the establishment. That you in control of not only your well-being, but that of your family, your friends, and potentially, if you choose to take it further, you can become a practitioner of such. But I hope you'll take advantage. Like I said, it's for a limited time only. I really can't afford to leave it up there for $97 for long. But I hope you'll take advantage of it, and you can click on the link below and instantly go in where you will learn all the information that you need to know. You'll have downloads that you can print out for yourself, videos, audios, a student chat room. There's all sorts of information to keep you communicated with me, to ask questions where I'll respond to you directly, and hopefully together we can take charge and step into our own power as far as our health and our well-being is concerned. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed putting it together for you.